Hey guys, Harry here from the Art Gear Guide. Thank you so much for joining me today. As you can see, I have a review of this 52 set of watercolors from Mei Liang. Now, before we get into the video, if you find any beneficial, any benefits in watching these videos, please by all means hit the like button on the video. If you have found it helpful, or any of the information that you have found on these videos in the past have been helpful or beneficial to you in any way. If you hit the like button, that really does help me out a lot. It doesn't cost you anything. And also as well, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, I would like you to just consider subscribing. The reason being is, when I do giveaways, and I have a few giveaways coming up soon, I never make the giveaways to just subscribers. I leave it open to everybody. However, where the benefits come into if you are subscribed is when I do a video saying that I'm announcing a new giveaway, it's always the subscribers that will get the notification. People who just watch the videos, they don't always get the notification because YouTube just randomly selects videos to push into your inbox and what have you. But if you are subscribed, you will get a notification. So that's the best way of the best benefit I can see of being subscribed to a channel like mine, in any case, where I'm doing giveaways. So if that's something that you're interested in, then please by all means hit the subscribe button as well. For now, let's just get into the review. So as you can see here, it's a 52 set, which is quite a lot of watercolors. It's quite a lot of paint in a single set. We're used to seeing with what the thing is with watercolors, mixing colors to create new colors is much easier with paint. It's much easier with oils, acrylics and watercolors as it is over color pencil. You can create like a third color from two colors with color pencils, but it's not always prominent and it's not always easy, whereas with watercolors it is. You can create, if you watch some of the masters, some of the really good watercolor artists on YouTube and other places, they can have in their palette 8 colors, say, and that's all they're going to need for the genre of art that they are doing. Say they're doing landscape, and they'll have like 8 specific colors that they can't do without, that they need, but they know all the different combinations, all the different color combinations that those colors can create. And for a lot of the time, 8 watercolors is going to give you a lot of different combinations, different tones and values and what have you of various different colors. So it's not normal to have such a huge number of watercolors in a particular set. But what I would say is, if you are a student that is dipping your toe into watercolors, or say maybe you are a color pencil artist, marker artist, something along those lines, and you want to dip your toe into watercolors, I don't think it's such a bad idea getting a bigger set. It'll certainly give you a better understanding of how the medium works, and then as you get more into the medium, then you can start introducing yourself to color theory, how colors mix together and how they create different colors, things like that. That's something I think is for the most part, it's something that you start to look into once you know that you're going to get into the medium. Anyway, as you can see here, it's nice fancy two-tone box here. On the back, we've got a little bit of a swatch. Just gives you a rough indication of the colors that's inside the set, but I'll show you what each of these colors looks like on some watercolor paper. As you can, like I say, there's 52 colors in here, so there's 50 traditional colors, and then there's 2 metallic colors. There's a gold and a silver, and then obviously you have your white here at the beginning. Inside the box, you get a swatch that you can create the colors on just beside each bit of information here. What's really good about this particular swatch is that it's watercolor paper. I think it's hot press watercolor paper. It's not like obviously the best quality watercolor paper, but it's a good start. Where you place the paint, it gives you the number, the color name in English and in Chinese. Then it lets you know whether it's transparent, semi-transparent, opaque, or semi-opaque. And then it gives you a lightfast rating here in stars. I'll get into that in more in depth in a second. There's also a little pamphlet here. Again, just showing you the same kind of information that's in that swatch, only they have created the colours for you here. And then a little bit about the company and how they make these paints on the pamphlet. So that's something that you can get into. And they also provide a few bits of watercolor paper. Now this watercolor paper here is, I think it's cold press. So it's similar to this. This is hot press. And then these little bits here, cold press, which it's really nice. It gives you, if you are just starting out and you pick up this set, you've instantly got watercolor paper to get started with. I can remember whenever I very first got into art and I got water-soluble pencils, I had no idea that you needed to have a specific kind of paper to get started on. And so I was just using ordinary paper. And obviously, if you know anything about water-soluble paints and things like that, as soon as you need to have watercolor paper. Otherwise, any other kind of paper, it's just going to rip. If there's too much water on it, it's just going to be a big mess. So it's nice that they supply that in the set. Okay, so it's a really nice little tin, to be fair. If you look at some of the other tins that we have, so this is a 24 tin. This is a traditional size for a 24 set pan, a 24 half pan set of watercolors. You can see the size comparison there. This one's quite thick, but I'll show you there is a reason for that, and I'll show you that in a second. But it just gives you a little indication of the size difference, because a lot of people have these 24 sets hanging around. So when you open, there's a little latch here just on the side, keeps it all tight and closed, so it's not going to mess about on you, open up all the time. Two little hinges on the back. There's nothing on the bottom. It would have been nice if there was kind of like one of those little ring hold things or something, just to give you a better grip hold of it whenever you're out and about, but there isn't. So this little latch just lifts up, and then you have access to the watercolors. Now I'm going to be showing you some images because I've used these paints, so I'm just going to show you what the tin looks like as you get it brand new. So as you can see here, all 52 colors, when you get them, the pans are all wrapped up in these little bits of paper just indicating the color and other information, which we'll come to in a second. On the inside the lid of the tin, you get a 0.5 fine liner, a B pencil, and then they provide with a little watercolor brush in the set as well. Now it's not a water brush, one of those brushes that suck up the water inside the handle. It's just a proper watercolor brush. I've used it and I'm actually really quite impressed with it. It's not a full size one, it's just like a little portable one, like travel one, but it's lovely. It's really nice. I was really pleasantly surprised with it, and the quality of the brush as well, pleasantly surprised with it. Now they also have a little sponge here, and that is for when you are obviously getting rid of your excess water on your brush. You would just dip it onto the sponge. The sponge absorbs it and gives you control over the water that you have in your brush. However, the thing is, the way I imagine that this is designed to be used is, once you get the tin and you have unwrapped all of your pans and you're ready to go, you would remove this white plastic thing from the tin, because otherwise you're not going to have any mixing areas. So you really need to remove this plastic from the tin, and this is where you are going to have your mixing wells. Now obviously, because of the depth of it, you've got a lot of area here to mix, and there is a little ridge that runs down the sides here, so you do have separate mixing wells. So you've got two small ones here, medium sized one, and then a much larger one here. I suppose just keeping the little sponge in there, you know, it's neither here nor there whether it moves around or not, because it's not something that you need to keep clean. All it is for absorbing the water. But before we get into the pans, let's just have a quick closer look at these other items that come within the set. So let's take a look at this fine liner. It's not a bad fine liner. Like I say, it's a white barrel. On one side it just says that it's water resistant, water based, made in China. On the other side it just says pigment liner 0.5, and then on the lid here as well, it just gives you an indication of the nib size 0.5. And then we take a look at the nib, just a standard fine liner. I'll show you on the paper once we get into that. Pencil is just a standard B pencil, so nothing really special about it. It just says paint pencils, and then the name of the pencil, the name of the company that makes the pencil, and then the B grade on the end here. It looks very much like a Faber-Castell pencil, you know, because it's got that dark green and then the gold on the end. And then, like I say, this little brush, I love it because it's one of these, I've seen these brushes before where they have these clear Perspex handles. I just like the look of them. I know it's silly, but I like the look of those brushes. But the main aspect of this brush is the actual brush, and it holds water really well, and it's perfect for these pans. And I was really, really impressed with the type of brush that they've put in here. So now, as you can see here, we've got all of the pans. So this is what it looks like with all the wrapping on the pans, and then this is what it looks like once you've taken all the wrappings off the pans. You can see here that they're all quite cracked, and somebody once, I did a review of a set of watercolors that I got, and they were handmade watercolors. They're hand poured, thing like that. And somebody had listed in the comments, you know, there is no difference between machine poured pans and hand poured pans. And I would now beg to differ. If you can see the difference between these pans and then go across and look at the pans of the hand poured ones, you can definitely see a difference. The information on the paper that is wrapped around each pan. So you can see here, I'm showing you some images of the pans with the paper on it. So on the front it gives you the pigment name, and there is also some lightfast information represented on the very front of it as well. So it has the Mei Liang logo, and then some writing in Chinese, and then it says the color name, and then some lightfast information. Then on one side we have a lot of information. It's all in Chinese, and then on the opposite side it's just the same information, only in English. So it says color carrier, which I'm guessing is, it says here Arabic gum, so they're talking about the binding in it. The color, which is the pigment used in it. Then the light resistance, so that's the lightfast information, and that is out of a 5-star rating. And then it just says here transparency, and then it'll tell you whether it's semi-transparent, transparent, semi-opaque, or opaque, which we'll get into in a second. So lots of information on the actual the wrappings that go around the tins or the pans, and I'll show you in a second how I was able to transfer all that information. I'm going to show you now the swatch that I created with this. Okay, so I've done this on quite a big piece of hot press watercolor paper, so it's quite smooth. But I wanted to have it big so that I could show the colours off well, and also as well write the information on each square clearly so that you could get a proper look at all of the information. So right along the top here, I've just done the title, which is Mei Liang Solid Watercolors 52 set. And then there is like a legend. So a square completely coloured is opaque. A square which is only half coloured is semi-opaque. A square with just a line through it is semi-transparent. And then a square not coloured at all is transparent. And so that's the legend that they've used here. And so you will notice that all along here on this swatch, it gives you an indication as to whether the paint is transparent, semi-opaque, opaque, whatever. Now, you can see here that I've done a black marker line across all of the middle before I painted on them, so that when I painted over the line, over this black line, it's going to give you a visual representation as to whether the paints are opaque or not. Also as well, for each colour, there is the colour name, the lightfast information, and then the pigment number that has been used to create that particular colour. So a lot of them here just have the one pigment number. Some of them have two, and when we get down around the greens and things like that, there some of them have three. So let's talk about the colours that's in the swatch, because it's much better to see the colours on a swatch as opposed to just looking at the pans. You can see here there's a decent selection of yellows. I would like to have seen maybe like an Indian yellow or something like that. I know this nickel yellow is perhaps Indian yellowish. Then we come into the oranges here. So we've got a nice kind of like light orange, permanent orange red. Then we come up to the vermilion here. Then we come down to the second line where we're looking at the scarlet red, Chinese red, permanent red, carmine, purple red, quinacridone rose, which is a nice colour. These purples are gorgeous. So we've got purple lake, violet, magenta, bright purple, deep purple, and then this violet oxide down on the third row is gorgeous. The blues, again, really love these blues. Cobalt blue, ultramarine blue, two of the real staples of watercolour. Magnese blue Novo, sky blue, Prussian blue. I love Prussian blue. I always love Prussian blue. Indigo blue, or just indigo, sorry. This is a really rich, gorgeous indigo. Payne's grey, which is much more blue than a lot of Payne's greys I've used in watercolours. Then we come down to the aquas and the greens. Now, I think the aquas that they've put in this set are just gorgeous. If you enjoy doing seascapes, that kind of thing, this set is you're just gonna love it. Sea blue, light turquoise, deep cobalt turquoise, and then there's a light cobalt turquoise as well here. Coming down onto the greens here, then we've got yellow green, lime green, permanent green, deep emerald green, dark hooker green, olive green, phthalo green blue, and then bright hooker green. I would have liked to have seen a darker green somewhere in here. I think these greens, even the dark hooker green, which isn't really the darkest green. If you look at the bright hooker green, to me it looks darker. I would just like to have seen a really dark green in there as well, but you know, it's not there. Natural yellow, light brown. This fired gold ochre is a gorgeous colour, absolutely beautiful. Indian red, burnt umber, sepia. Then you've got two blacks. You've got your ivory black and your coal black, and you can see the difference there. Ivory black has this kind of like brown tone to it. And then we've got the gold and silver Never understood really. I think when it comes to watercolors, if people like metallic watercolors, they'll tend to buy a metallic watercolor set. So I'm not sure why they've put them in there. Although that's just from my own personal preference. I'm not a big fan of metallic paints. I've only used 1 or 2 sets where the metallics in them have been like gorgeous. With this set here, the gold is nice. The silver is a little bit more difficult to see, especially on obviously white paper, but you can see them down there at the bottom. So that's a swatch. That's why I always say that, you know, doing the swatch on some watercolor paper is so important, because when you look at the swatches on the back of boxes, things like that, they're not used, you know, those swatches are just a guideline. More often than not, the swatches that are on the back of boxes look nothing like what the color will look like on the paper that you're going to use it. So I think it's important to create your own swatch and try to do it on the paper that you're going to be using most. And I know that's difficult because if you're using really expensive watercolor paper, you're not really going to want to use it for a swatch. But the thing is, once you've used it once and you've created your swatch, that's it, you've got it. You don't need to keep going through it all, you know, every time you need to use colors. It's there for your visual representation whenever you're going to use the colors. Okay, so before we get into doing the, I'm just going to show you some of these paints in action, show you the consistency of them, that kind of thing. This was the artwork that I did. I completed this on St Cuthbert's Mill, Saunders Waterford hot press paper, cold press paper. So it's decent quality paper. Now, I done this twice because, like I said, the first time that I started out using these paints, I just wasn't in the mood. I had like artist block, I guess you would call it. I had to then stop what I was doing, put the paints down, and come back to them a few days later because it was just driving me nuts. It was my inability to be able to draw or paint. It just, nothing was turning out right. I'm still not 100% happy with this, but nevertheless, in my opinion, it gives you a good representation of the vibrancy of the colours and how they look in real time whenever you're using them. So I do have a speed drawing of this over on the Art Gear Guide YouTube channel, and I also have some still images of this artwork as well, which I've added over onto the Art Gear Guide website. Just means you can go over there if you want, select an image that you might want to see, and then you can zoom in and get a better look at the paint strokes and things like that, and how the color looks on this paper. And you can't really get to see all of that information in a speed drawing, so I always provide both. But that's the artwork that I did, and whilst it's okay, it's not one of my best, but it is what it is. It like I say, it's a good representation of the colour, how vibrant the colours are. So let's get into showing you that right now. Okay, so I'm just going to activate these colours. I'll be able to zoom in here on where I'm actually doing the colour in a second, once I get some colour on it. Lemon yellow. And you can see there that it's a really nice, vibrant colour. And I'm hoping that you can see, let me just zoom in now, I've got a little bit of colour on this. I'm hoping that you're going to be able to see just how well this little brush works. So this Chinese red is another colour that I really liked. And you'll be able to see just how rich and vibrant that red is. And this is where, listen, whenever you become, you know, really proficient in watercolors, and you understand color theory, you understand mixing, you'll not need 52 colors from any watercolor set to be able to do watercolors. but it's a good place to start. So next up, I want to show you this indigo, just how this looks. You can see there, it's such a gorgeous dark color. It reminds me of the indigo that came out in the additional Caran d'Ache Luminance set. Really, really dark indigo blue. And you can just about see as I'm spreading it out there that it's blue. It's so dark it almost looks black. But it's such a beautiful color. The other color that I want to show you here is the Sapphire Gold Ochre, and that is this color here. Again, beautiful color. Really rich, vibrant, earthy tone color. And then I'll just show you here the coal black as well. So it's a really dark black here that you can see. And then the ivory black, you'll be able to see that there is a vast difference between the coal black and the ivory black. There is a brown tone to it. It's not as dark, but you can see there. All in all, the colors are well vibrant, saturated. Sorry, they're very vibrant. I really did enjoy using them. I guess if we go back and look at the swatch that I showed you earlier on, I would like to have seen a couple more greens, but that's just because I enjoy doing botanical kind of art, especially with watercolors. So a few more greens or different tones of green would have been nice. The blues I was well impressed with, as was the aquas, the aqua blue, aqua greens. I think with the reds, I think they could have maybe removed one or two reds and give it a different green. Like they could have removed either the permanent red or the Chinese red, got rid of one of those. And when it comes to the purples as well, I think that they could have got rid of the deep purple or the bright purple. They're very similar in tone and everything. And I think with even just those two colours gone, they could have given us a much darker green and perhaps a lighter green as well. But all in all, really quite impressed with the set. So the other thing that I wanted to share with you was the fine liner and the pencil. So I mean, a pencil's a pencil. It's a B pencil, so it's quite a soft lead. And then with the pigment liner, a 0.5 is kind of like your standard nib size. But obviously, when you're using the fine liner and then you come in with your paint, you can see there that it doesn't run, and I've used that bright yellow for a reason. If anything's going to run, it's going to be with the yellow, and you can see there that, and I've done that really quite fast, really quite soon after applying the fine liner. So let me do that again. So just a couple of lines of the fine liner, and then pick up some yellow. And you can see there that it's not, doesn't run, doesn't smudge, anything like that. So that's beneficial. The last thing you're going to want is a fine liner that is going to smudge and run as soon as you apply paint over it. Okay guys, so that's my review of the Mei Liang watercolor, the 52 watercolor set. I really do think that if you are, I mean, like for prices and things like that, go over to the written review. I'll have all that information over there, and I'll have a better outline of the lightfast information wrote out over there, so that you can take a look at it in your own time. You can see all the different pigment numbers that have been used in the individual pans. You'll be able to look at that in your own time, not have to pause a video and try and zoom in and all the rest of it. But for this particular set, I think it's a perfect set. It's absolutely perfect. If you are just looking to get into watercolors and you're looking to pick up a set that is going to be really good, really decent quality watercolors. They're not washed out or anything like that. You don't have to like dig deep into the pans to get some sort of color from it or anything like that. They haven't supplied a really cheap water brush in there either. They have provided you with a decent quality watercolor brush, which I was really impressed with. Really enjoyed using it. And the fact that they've given you a fine liner and a pencil, it's not essential, but it's nice as well. So somebody could go and buy that set, and with the watercolor that they've provided in the set, they can get started. Somebody can get started right away. As soon as the set comes, they don't have to start going out and buying watercolor paper. They don't have to do any of that. They can get this set, start using the product, and then decide from there whether it's something that they enjoy or not. Not everybody, when they get an art product, especially when they're getting it for the first time, they're, you know, they've maybe seen somebody use watercolors and they think to themselves, yeah, I want to try some of that stuff. Not all the time do we buy the product and go, all right, yeah, this is definitely going to be for me. Sometimes it's like, nah, this really isn't for me. It's just not a product I'm going to enjoy using. In which case, if you've not spent a lot of money on it, you can set it to the side or give it to somebody else or whatever. But you're not going to, it's not the end of the world for you if it doesn't pan out. And then the flip side of that is, if you buy a set like this, you use it and you think to yourself, hey, I really like this product. I think this is really good for me. I'm really enjoying the watercolor. The only thing that you're going to need to get on top of what's already in this set is maybe a watercolor block. Once you've used the watercolor strips that they provide for you in there, but at least you'll have had the chance to use the product on watercolor paper without having to, you know, go out and buy yourself a watercolor block. I think all in all, it's a lovely set. It's a really good set. The paint quality that's in it is really nice. Obviously, when it comes down to the lightfast information, that's entirely, I've spoke at great length about the lightfast ratings, and you know, unless it's Blue Wool or ASTM, you've got to decide for yourself how much relevance you put into what you're being told by the company. If it's not Blue Wool or ASTM certified, the onus is on you then to decide how much validity you put into the lightfast ratings that you're being given. But having said that, just the fact that they've put lightfast ratings on here is what, you know, shows that they have tried that they're not artist quality watercolors. Okay, you're not going to be able to do a watercolor painting with these and then sell it as an original piece for a vast sum of money, because in all probability the paints will fade in about 5 or 10 years. There's other ways that you can get around that by creating prints and all the rest of it, but I'm just talking about from the standpoint of the actual watercolors themselves. Anyway, that's my review here of the Mei Liang watercolors. If you've used these before and you enjoyed them or you didn't enjoy them, leave it in the comment section and let me know what you thought of them. Or if it's a set that you've maybe been thinking about buying, let me know in the comments section what you've thought of the review I've provided here. And if there's anything that you think I've missed, just ask in the comments section and I will provide that information for you. Don't forget, all my reviews are broke down into 4 bits. So this video review, a speed drawn video of the artwork. I also have a written review where I'll have information like lightfast information and pricing and all the rest of it with links over on the written review. And then I also take photographs of the artwork from start to finish and in between. And you can go across to that page on the Art Gear Guide website, click on whatever image it is that you might like the look of, and the image will enlarge, and then you can zoom in on the image and you can inspect what the colors look like on the paper in your own time, and get a much better understanding of what the product looks like. So all my reviews are always split down into 4 bits, the links of which will always be down below. So just take a look at the links down below in case you want to go across and check out other elements of the review. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. And don't forget, if you have found any benefit in this video, please give the video a like. If you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, because like I say, I have a few really good giveaways coming up soon, and I also have a few promo codes that I'm going to be giving away for certain products that I'm going to be reviewing coming up very soon as well. So thanks very much, guys. Look forward to seeing you all again in the next video. Bye.